for the intro, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Jamie, all right. So we got the intro out of the way there, and Jamie and I were and Jeff were connecting yesterday just to talk about Jamie's title and what she actually does there. One of those situations where someone clearly does a lot more than perhaps their title leads on. We've got process improvement, project management, automation and optimization wizard, amongst other titles. Jamie's the kind of person that you want on your team at game night for sure. Like she's a tinker, the figure it out type, which we're very excited to rewind the clock, hear a little bit about Jamie's journey with SmartSuite, even life before SmartSuite, and then we'll get into the action and we can start to talk about some of the goodness that she has helped bring to the team. And I believe there are some other folks from WebPT here that could sing her praises in the chat, but we've seen some amazing things being created, and we love the momentum. So excited to help share your story here, Jamie.
Excellent. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Rick.
Beauty. All right, well, let's start at the beginning. So let's talk about what are you actually doing there at WebPT?
Yeah, so at WebPT, we believe in empowering the rehab therapy industry to achieve greatness in practice. We're a digital first company, so primarily remote, and we've got employees around the globe. Um, my department that I'm in is the RCM, so Revenue Cycle Management, and it's a full billing service designed specifically for rehab therapy practices. So instead of our members, which are our clients, our members, having to handle claims, hosting, follow-ups, denials, that kind of thing on their own, our billing specialists take care of that entire cycle, the revenue cycle for them, so they can focus on patient care. Um, for me specifically, I have been with the company for 13 plus years in many different roles. I started out in AR, did that for several years. I've been in a support and success role. And yeah, now my official title is Senior RCM Data and Decision Support Specialist. So like Rick said, it's one of those roles that's a little difficult to describe. Yeah, figure it out. People, I saw that on a LinkedIn post, and I was like, that's definitely me.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I spend most of my time in SmartSuite pretty much all day, every day, creating and documenting internal RCM processes. So we're talking like completing project management tasks, monitoring any automation errors. Um, and for a while, it was just me in there, but now I'm working with three others to start building, which is really exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's rewind the clock to life before SmartSuite. And well, 13 years, by the way, at a company, that says a lot about you as a person and your commitment. It says a lot about WebPT in terms of like quality employer for someone to want to stay the
Yeah.
course for that long. And I'd also say, we see a lot of folks that are new to a company and they take on a tool like SmartSuite because they want to dive in and innovate. Because you have that domain expertise, it makes you even more powerful. So we like to continue to encourage people that have been at a company for a while. Like it's never too late to pick up a new tool and invoke change and spark excitement amongst your colleagues there. So kudos to you for having the appetite to continue to want to innovate.
Thank
All right.
you.
Before SmartSuite, let's talk a little about either tools that were used or what did the operational flow look like?
Yeah, so we primarily use, and we still do use it quite a bit, but like Google Suite, so docs, sheets, slides, that kind of thing. Um, but what we were seeing on our internal processes, so we have our own EMR and billing application, right? So these are processes outside of those. Um, is that we have that textbook issue of siloed information and resources. So, this person over here might have had a really useful cheat sheet that was shared with a few others, and then the rest of the team had no idea that it even existed. And so just in general, we had so much combined RCM knowledge, but no way to catalog it, validate it, and share it with the entire organization.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
what, was there like a single aha moment, Jamie, where you're like, we should look for something else here. This is becoming painful.
yeah,
Or what was that revelation point?
yeah, it was years ago. I don't maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I noticed that we were manually tracking member data, similar member data on four different Google Sheets. So if one was updated, you had to go and manually update the other three. and they, like I said, the data that was being tracked was is overlapping. So I just didn't understand. I just couldn't wrap my head around why we weren't
Yeah.
just like combining this all at least into one spreadsheet. And then the data that we were tracking there was really important to RCM, but only a few people even knew about these spreadsheets. And so our member base is always growing, as are our RCM teams. And so we needed that solution for standardization, centralization, and control of our internal processes.
Yeah, it's a classic case of the company, the customer base and the revenue are outpacing, growth is outpacing that of the systems that you have in place, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Got you
Yeah.
here, won't get you there. So you probably kicked the tires on many tools, and you don't
Oh,
need to
yeah.
call it any specifics, but what stood out about SmartSuite when you were evaluating tools that made you think this could be the one?
Yeah. Well, I was looking for something low to no code. Definitely not a coder. Uh, I get a lot of help from Gemini if I have to do anything with that.
Sure. Sure.
um, and I wanted it to be simple to build and visually appealing, right, to multiple different types of learners. So we've got people who prefer spreadsheet mode versus dashboard, that kind of thing. And we just needed to be able to house, like I said, house all of that information that we had acquired over the years.
Hmm. So simple but dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Being able to set it up easily without having that sort of background. Dynamic enough to meet the needs of multiple stakeholders. And you do have, not a single type of stakeholder that's using SmartSuite there. And then visually appealing. Tell us more about what you were looking for there, why that's so important to you.
Yeah, just simplicity of the view is so important because a lot of people I kind of equate it to like a sink full of dishes, right? When you come across it, you're like, no way, I'm not even going to start. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So when you look at something, a spreadsheet or whatever, and there's just so much data on it, people just automatically kind of turn themselves off. Not
Yeah.
everybody. So there's nerdy people like me that love a good spreadsheet, but
Exactly. Yeah. You
yeah.
gotta
So
go.
yeah, we wanted to put the information out there in a way that users could actually, digest it.
Hmm. And you wanted to create, if I recall, early conversations, because it's been, well over a year now, almost 2 years, is it?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was early 2024.
Okay. So we've been at it, we've been building, we've been iterating, and I recall one of the early things that you'd mentioned is you wanted to be able to put structure in place with your data without having rigidity. So without having to accommodate exactly how a point solution was prescriptively telling you this is how we need it, right? So how did SmartSuite strike that balance for you, the team?
Yeah, so um, right now we're using a CRM platform, company wide, right? And I was doing a project a while back where we're building a specific console for RCM for this CRM, and it's working well. We still use it, but any kind of build or change requests that we need, they're managed by a separate department who has their own priorities across the entire company. And so sometimes our RCM requests could take a while, um, and then working with a team that was not RCM related. Sometimes it was there's like a lost in translation bit.
Mhm.
And so we needed a way to match the pace of our RCM growth without sacrificing that central governance, but also having that flexibility to prioritize our own needs within RCM.
Love that. Do you remember your first workflow, the first workflow or dashboard you created that people beyond yourself started saying, "Wow, this changes the game."
Yeah, it was so I had built a couple, right? We were using them. That's all good. They were working. But the first major one was our new member protocol solution.
Okay.
It's one of the first that required additional users just outside like my team to come in there and use SmartSuite. So we were changing ownership of the process at the time, and we used it as an opportunity to move the whole workflow into SmartSuite.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when a member is ready to transition from onboarding to an active RCM member, tasks are created for each RCM department to complete. And then we've got this lovely multi-tab dashboard with all of our summary data, and all that kind of stuff. We've got a manager tab where they're able to assign out tasks to their teams if they're not already auto-assigned
Hmm.
using automation. There's a My Task Queue tab on there so that team members can go directly to just the work that they need to look at for the day. Um, and so this was a really important moment for RCM because it this is a vital process in setting up our members for success from day one. And it really involves every individual RCM team working together. Um, and so it's running really smoothly. I'm super excited.
Love that. Um, Now the automations that you're putting in place, and again, I remember this from early conversations that that was a huge piece of what you were looking for in a tool, the ability to automate, the ability to standardize your processes. Let's talk more about that, either like key automations or dashboards that have made an impact there on your daily operations.
Yeah. So I'm going to use two for
Okay.
example. So the first one is our form to case automation. So, like I said, we're still using a CRM app to process internal requests from one department to another. So, for instance, our AR team, while doing their follow up, found a payment that needed to be posted in the system. They're going to send that information to our payments team to complete. So, our monthly volume of cases is about 12,000. And originally, these were all being submitted via email, and there's a email to case functionality. But when that information was coming over, it lacked essential information. It only had like the subject and the body of the email, right? So that it just didn't fill in all those um, details that the team needed inside of the app to complete those cases. So it contributed to longer resolution times, a lot of back and forth communication. Now, what we're doing is our teams are using a SmartSuite form to create these cases. So the form has conditional logic, and certain fields are required based on the submitter's response to previous questions. All of that required information for that particular case type is obtained and sent at time of creation. And then we have automation that sends an auto response email to the submitter with that case number for tracking. And so all of this automation and form use, all that kind of stuff, allowed us to reduce our CRM licenses by about 300, which resulted in about $450,000 of annual savings for the company, um, which is just a phenomenal number to be able to say out loud. We also were able to cut the numbers created in half. So a lot of follow-up cases were being created, which was obviously, increasing the caseload. And we were able to also see an 89% reduction in average handling time of those cases because we were able to send all that information right off the bat. It's this one is like the beautiful, beautiful one that we've seen the most improvement from.
That's amazing. And kudos to you for tracking impact. Something we discuss with our customers all the time. They like the experience of working in SmartSuite. They see the value. They know it's a better state
Yeah.
than whatever they were using previously, especially if they're in Sheets and multiple systems. Um, let's talk a little bit more about that process. How did you go about quantifying and sort of landing on the numbers and understanding the true impact of SmartSuite?
Yeah. So I learned from my mistakes.
Okay.
Some of these I
This
didn't
is good.
quite get all of that information from the start.
Yeah.
And yeah, so one of my recommendations for anybody out there is try to collect that ROI, that return on investment data from the beginning.
Yeah.
So get your okay. Basically, the now when we go forward with a new project, we try to get the amount of time it takes for um, all team employees to complete a process each month or something like that, right? Along with supervisors and managers. And then we're going to estimate the amount of time that we're going to reduce from that amount and put a dollar amount to it based on average wage, that kind of thing. And so then we're able to come across that estimated savings,
Yeah.
which is really great. And then after the process has been rolled out, we try to send out a quick survey, like a 2-question survey to the teams, just to kind of gauge if they're landing where we were expecting, um, which is usually the case. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's such a healthy angle. And I'm sure everybody's thinking about to some extent. I could say most of the customers we have that join us or that are evaluating SmartSuite, they're heavily focused on features. Do you have this? Do you have this? And they're doing direct feature comparisons with other similar, perhaps like point solutions meant to do certain things. But focusing on the metrics and the actual flow, the visuals is allowing you to go beyond that. Weaving that into a question here we just got in the chat where someone is asking anonymous attendee, please reveal yourself. No, they're saying, there's obviously other tools in the space that have angles of what SmartSuite can do. Monday being one of them, for example, for task and project management. I don't know if that's a tool you evaluated, but they're asking what uniquely about SmartSuite did you see and did you like different than a Monday type tool?
yeah, honestly, when I first signed up, I have to say it was um, the outreach from the SmartSuite team, like yourself and others, and just really, it, I felt like there was a direct connection between us and SmartSuite, right? So, whereas with other applications that I had tried before, it was all still very, you're just talking to a bot, or
Mm,
you send them an email, maybe they'll email you in 2 days or something like that. I definitely felt a lot more, hey, we're really here to help you and to make you guys be successful using SmartSuite. So that made a huge difference to me.
service. Appreciate
Yeah,
we take
and
a lot in that. So thank you.
yeah, and I want to do a shout out real quick. First of all, to my team, I saw some of them on the chat introducing themselves. So hi everybody, thank you. And then also I did want to give a shout out to my leadership. So they're forward thinking, and they're the ones who said, yeah, this sounds great. Let's go ahead and move forward. And I really appreciate that opportunity as well.
Love that. Hopefully, we see a bunch of reactions and emojis. Yeah, here we go. All right, let's show some love for Jamie. She is a rock star for sure. All right, let's talk about the reach of SmartSuite, but more so these workflows and how they connect. And taking a step back, you're seeing SmartSuite and you have from the beginning as more than just task and project management. And that to the person, anonymous attendee who asked the question, like I would say that's another differentiator is um, a tool like Monday, just broadly, kind of compartmentalizes what you're paying for and what you get. And you buy a whole bunch of different slices to get different things, and then you try to piece it together and so on. SmartSuite's approach is more of an operational hub for everything that you could potentially be doing. You are now in leveraging SmartSuite to collaborate across 6 different RCM departments or so. Is that right?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So you mentioned SmartSuite becoming your one source of truth. How has that improved collaboration? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So let's see. For example, we had um, an SOP library is kind of what we had. We didn't actually have that before SmartSuite. That's what we have now.
Yeah.
Before we had just Google Doc links on a spreadsheet, right? And again,
Mhm.
not everybody even knew that spreadsheet existed. And so um, just the amount of like non-value added time that has been eliminated from people's everyday workflows is amazing. So for that SOP specifically, we're estimating that moving that into SmartSuite, the whole creation, submission, approval, recertifying and validating the information, all of that has
Mhm.
eliminated about 90% of employee non-value added activities related to SOPs, which is obviously huge. The fact that people know where to go to find out how to do something is, I mean, it's vitally important. So obviously there's that, but then just it allows also for us to be more proactive. So like our dedicated quality assurance and quality control teams can more easily complete their work, which includes comparing consistency and quality of employee actions with our SOPs, and then providing that data to senior leadership. So then we have um, faster retraining opportunities and then better results for our members altogether.
Yeah. You let me double click on something you said there, just about having SOPs in the information, living where the work is done. Novel idea. I think the old school way of approaching that is let's stash all of our SOPs in the way that work is supposed to be done in a wiki or in a learning center, and then have people go to the separate tools to go and apply it. The fact that it can um, be actually the source of truth for those SOPs can live where the work is done and tracked and metriced makes it a whole
Mhm.
lot easier, doesn't it, for people to understand what they need to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the just the power of linked records is phenomenal. So, um, for example, I talked about the four spreadsheets from before where we changed one and then we would have to update the other three, right? And I think that is just a classic problem of using spreadsheets. Whereas in SmartSuite, because everything's connected, you've got linked records, you update it once, it automatically updates in all of your solutions. And so I part of using SmartSuite was that I'm like one of the surprising things is I guess it's not super surprising, but it's just more noticeable now. It's how interconnected all of our data is.
Right.
And so, all of our solutions have multiple linked records to other solutions. And so it's so valuable to be able to just, like I said, update it in that one spot and see it live, across the board.
hmm So that let's talk more about the visuals then, because we've talked about dashboards a few times. How are you using dashboards to track performance and to keep the teams connected?
Yeah. Well, so we've got dashboards that show, summary information, um, like task load per department or employee, and then those tabs on the dashboard where an employee can come in and just see, okay, what's due today, what are my overdue tasks if I have any, that kind of thing. Um, we try to also provide just high level information for leadership to make those quick decisions. So they're not having to dig around in spreadsheets. They can just see here's what I need, here's what I'm going to report up, and so on and so forth. So also we have over 250 active automations,
Okay.
primarily with SmartSuite, but we use some with like Zapier and AppScripts and Slack, of course. And so one of our most impactful automations and dashboards is where we track any
Mhm.
automation errors. Because obviously, if there's an error in an automation, it could potentially stop a workflow that's essential to operations.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with that combination, especially um, the native integration that SmartSuite has with Slack, to give us those alerts when an error has happened, and that kind of thing is just really important. Now, for the error specifically, we kind of base it off of the emails that we receive,
Yep.
the email notifications. But yeah, it's been working really really well. Um, our overall median error rate is 0.014%, which is well below our goal of less than 0.3%. So
Okay.
yeah, we're doing real well.
I love the data that you're tracking. These are things that we sometimes hear about. Perhaps our customers keep it close to the vest at times, but the fact that you are caring about efficiencies, connectivity, time savings, all that sort of stuff, and you have the data to back it up is brilliant. Let's talk a little bit more about dashboards because I feel like you've joined every webinar we've had. You've been a real student of the game. Um, so of course you've explored all the different widgets and visualizations to tell the story behind the data and to create a clean dashboard for your leadership. Any lessons learned, like things you want to note about dashboards, recommendations you have for folks as they're building for value?
Yeah. Let's see. So okay, so number one is consider the audience, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a dashboard that's used primarily by team members, employees, we want to keep it extremely simple, and have as few clicks as possible to get to the data that they need. I kind of just use that in general across all workflows for anybody is automate as much as you can, provide as much data as you can from the start so that they aren't taking all of their time looking around for these things. Just, give them what they need. Um, And then, like I said before, if mostly used by leadership, we want to focus on those quick decision making data points. Donut charts, metric tiles to display that general info. And then I especially love those. I don't know if I'm calling it right, but those metric tiles, because then, if you want to dig into it and get the detailed numbers, you just click right there, and there it is for those who do need to dig in a little further. Um,
Totally. Yeah, I love
yeah.
that.
Another thing too for dashboards is I like to include some instructions right there on the dashboard. So again, yes, we've got our SOPs, but just sometimes a quick use guide can be extremely helpful and save valuable time.
That whole mindset of if I'm getting questions, if people need instructions on how to use it, how do I put it front and center so they don't have to contact me? Right. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I love talking and everything, but yeah, saves everybody some time.
I love that. All right, looking back, what would you say has been the most surprising outcome or benefit of moving to SmartSuite? Something that maybe you didn't envision.
Yeah, I guess I was really surprised at how quickly our RCM organization got on board with moving processes and systems into SmartSuite.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it really has to do with that interconnected data with the linked records. Um, one of the managers yesterday was saying how she's so excited about this new project that we're working on because we're going to be able to pull from here and from there and from here and see it all in one
Mhm.
spot. We can just, from one click, get to all this information, right? And it's nice to see others besides myself and my small team um, nerd out is what she called it. And I just love it. And so, people are now constantly reaching out saying, "Hey, can we move this in SmartSuite? Like, would it be possible?" I'm just like, "Yeah, probably. Let me, let's get together and discuss it, and we can probably get it in there," which is just exciting. It's just moving forward, and because of that interconnected data and being able to access it all in one space, we're able to just grow and okay. So, for example, um, on our spreadsheets, we might have had a spreadsheet tracking data for one member, right? Um, But now in SmartSuite, we can use all of the members' data to really look and try to identify proactive areas or proactively areas that we can improve on internally. Or we can say maybe we want to do some kind of outreach, and we can say okay across all of our members. Yesterday I was asked for a breakdown by time zone, and so we
Mhm.
have that information already. So I was able just to create a view, group it by time zone, and send it off. It's just the amount of information, the amount of what we can do now is phenomenal.
So making data more accessible so people can make more informed decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Proactively too. That's what, so we're definitely trying to, and as all businesses are, I assume, is try to be more proactive, right?
Mhm.
Versus reactive. So
Interesting. Um, for other teams, there's a question here that's woven in from Yusuf, but for other teams that are, let's say, in their spreadsheet journey, right? Maybe they're tapping into some third-party point solutions, but largely in spreadsheets. How have you thought about the Smart Suite setup frameworks at the beginning to get things structured and get the structure in place so that it didn't become overwhelming?
yes. So what I would suggest is obviously to start small. Um, Begin with an existing, like, well-functioning process, preferably one that's already being tracked on a spreadsheet. So then you already have your fields, which are your columns, your fields of data. You can use SmartSuite's import feature to create that solution and bring in all of that related data right off the bat.
Hmm.
Um, Another thing that I would suggest is process mapping. Like, don't skip that step. Um, for us, when we're moving a process into SmartSuite, we try not to just move it like as is, right? But instead analyze it for value and non-value added steps. determine if any of those manual work um, points can be replaced by automation. Anytime we can do that, we're saving human time for the more complex tasks, right? Which is super important. And then, like we discussed earlier, just document that ROI from the beginning.
Yeah,
Once you have something in place and it's working really well, nobody ever remembers how it was before. Not really.
that's
So
right.
you got to get that info right off the bat.
That's right. So you're basically you're doing the full breakdown of the process. You're understanding and seeing pieces of the process where it makes sense to have automation because humans could have more impact elsewhere. Yeah. And are you
Right.
tapping into our AI auto assist or any AI capabilities within
We
SmartSuite?
yeah, we actually just went. We just finalized our first one. So we have a system where if employees, anybody in RCM notices a trend that we need to bring to the members' attention, then they'll report that. And, not everybody's on the same like level grammatically, that kind of thing. So what we do is we use the AI assistant to take the information that's been submitted, reword it in a nice little professional numbered list, and then
Mhm.
that's what we're able to just grab and put on slide decks that then go out to the member on a monthly basis. So yeah, we're really excited about that. That was a big one for us because it took a little bit of tinkering just because we're none of us are like technical. I saw another thing on LinkedIn the other day and I reposted it. It's semi-technicals is what we're called. So we can we'll figure it out. Give us some time, we'll figure it out. But I definitely we see the value across the board. We can't wait to start implementing it in all of our other solutions as well.
Outstanding. Do you have a favorite feature? Because I know that you're a bit of an automation whiz, but you've also
Yeah,
spent some time with dashboards.
yeah. I am a big fan of the looping.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so when that came out, I was really excited because we were having to use Zapier for anything that required looping before. And so, like with that new member protocol process that I was telling you about, those tasks, we use a task template. And each time we have a new member come into that solution, it automatically runs through those tasks and recreates them and assigns them out and everything. It's just before people were having to manually, you know, copy a spreadsheet template and then, manually update it to match the new member and all that kind of stuff. So it's just saved so much time and um, reduced errors too. I mean, human errors happen. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, folks, that takes us to the end of the journey where we're at now. Jamie is an absolute wealth of knowledge. You mentioned that your mission, and I always like to ask folks like, why are you open to doing this with us? So thank you, of course, but why? And you had alluded to just wanting to encourage more folks to be involved in the community as we're building it up. More sounding boards, bouncing ideas. Tend to see folks like you and the community be very collaborative. So open shout out to get involved in these webinars, get involved in the SmartSuite community, and please be pushing product feedback because Jamie, you've never been short to share with us where you'd like to see us evolve, right?
definitely.
Very good. All right. Well, I'm gonna see if any other questions come in. Jeff, any other thoughts there for us?
Richard, I don't know if Rick, if you saw Richard Dole's question around API capabilities, if you want to touch on that.
Yes, I'm just messaging right now. We'll reach out offline. There's some sort of ideas around that, but we don't have the direct capability. I like what Richard's thinking about though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it as far as questions. And nothing in the chat, but I guess yeah, the only thing I wanted to mention was just from a resource perspective. I'll share my screen real quick. If you're looking for more guides or help centers or live support, bottom left, right hand corner when you're in your workspace, the help and resources navigation. There's all kinds of video content, roadmap, feature requests. You can log into our academy. There's a SmartSuite community, as Rick mentioned, and then daily office hours. They're actually start at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard. We need to update that there. getting started workshop, monthly training sessions, and then any upcoming webinars, training classes. So be sure to check that out under the help and resources. We've only got, I think, one webinar left for the year. It's next week. It's getting started with GRC and SmartSuite. So if you're interested in that topic, please go ahead and register. But yeah, other than that, just want a big thank you to Jami. I've really enjoyed working with you, and I'm glad you were willing and able to share your story today with the community. So based
Yeah,
on how much I loved having you on today, I think there's going to be a second round if you're open to it. So
yeah,
if you
absolutely.
have if you have a particular topic in mind, maybe we dive deeper on this, or maybe there's something else. And that being said, anyone that's on the call, if you have ideas for webinars, please send us an email, let us know. But yeah, Jami, this is fantastic. Really appreciate it. And yeah, Rick, as always, thank you so much. You were great.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
guys so much for having me. I really appreciate being invited.
no doubt, Jami. No, thanks for everything you put into it, and I'm digging all the love in the chat from your colleagues here.
Yeah, thank
Katie,
you.
Teresa, Jeffrey, Christine says a lot about the work that you're doing there. So appreciate you, Jami. Have a good
All
one, y'all.
right.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. See you. Bye.